Howdy freeze dryers, welcome back to Live Life Simple. I have not done a recipe video for quite a long time, so today I'm going to do a recipe video in my home kitchen instead of the freeze drying kitchen. We're going to do a recipe that is full of spice. It's very good for you. It's a great freeze drying recipe. Today we're doing freeze dried Tikka Masala. Tikka Masala is an Indian recipe which explains all of the huge amount of spices that we're using today, but don't be intimidated. Most of it goes very quickly. So you serve this with rice, so we're gonna work on that first, and then I'll show you what ingredients you need to put together. When I do recipes like this that are served with rice, I like to do half of the trays full of rice and then half of the trays full of the recipe. So I'm gonna do my rice first. I'm gonna do it in the Instant Pot. When you're doing rice in the Instant Pot, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So 1 cup water, 1 cup rice, or 2 cups water, 2 cups rice. I'm doing 2 cups of rice with 2 cups of water, and then you're gonna do this rice for 20 minutes. So quite a few more ingredients than I usually do in a freeze drying recipe, but this is totally worth it, trust me. And most of it is actually in the spice mixture and in the sauce mixture. First, we're gonna make the chicken tikka, and this is gonna be a marinade. I'm gonna double today's recipe. I have not made this in the small freeze dryer yet, so I'm not sure how far it's gonna go, but I think if I double this recipe, it will get us 2 trays, which is what I'm after. You're gonna start with 2 pounds of cubed chicken, and we need a cup of plain yogurt. I'm doing Greek yogurt, but you can do any other kind of yogurt as well. Next, we're gonna do 12 cloves of garlic. And you can do minced garlic like I'm doing, or you can do fresh garlic. Next, we're gonna do some fresh ginger. I'm gonna do paste today. If you're doing paste or powder, you're gonna do less than if you're doing fresh ginger. If you're doing fresh ginger, 2 tablespoons. If you're doing paste or powder, probably wanna dial it back to like 1 tablespoon. Next, we're gonna do a whole bunch of spices. So we want 2 teaspoons of garam masala, 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of cumin, 2 teaspoons of coriander, 2 teaspoons of paprika. You can use regular paprika or smoked paprika, and then a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, an 1/8 teaspoon of pepper, 4 teaspoons of lemon juice. And that right there is what gives this dish all of its flavor. That's just a knockout punch of spices. This is what's gonna marinate that chicken, and that's ready to go into the refrigerator. This is gonna marinate in the fridge for a minimum of 3 hours. It's best if you can leave it overnight. While this is marinating, I'm gonna put together the sauce and get that going. In a larger pan, medium-high heat, we're gonna want minimum oil and minimum butter, but you need enough to cook the sauce, and you also need enough to cook your chicken later on. While our butter and our oil is heating up, we're gonna take a couple onions and we're gonna chop those up to throw into that hot oil. Once our butter is heated up, we're gonna do 2 tablespoons of ginger paste. If you're doing fresh ginger, 4 tablespoons. You can add a little salt at this time, and then we're just gonna saute these onions with the ginger and salt. You're going to want to stir this the entire time this is cooking. You're looking for kind of a golden brown color from that ginger. Usually about 5 minutes is plenty. And we're gonna do 12 more cloves of garlic. If you do not like garlic, or you don't want this much garlic, obviously dial it down. We're also gonna add 2 tablespoons of paprika, not smoked paprika, just regular paprika to this. And we're gonna make another little spice mixture for the sauce. We want 4 teaspoons of turmeric, 2 tablespoons of garam masala, 4 teaspoons of coriander, 2 teaspoons of cumin. We're gonna do a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, and then a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. We're gonna add our spice mixture, and we're gonna take our heat down to medium. We're gonna stir this the whole time, get all of this stuff really coated with all of this good spices. Then we're gonna add 2.5 to 3 cups of tomato sauce or tomato passata, and then 2.5 to 3 cups of water. We're gonna bring this up to a simmer. Once we have done that, we're gonna cover it, take our heat down to low, and then you're gonna stir this occasionally, but you want this to cook for about 15 minutes. At that time, your house will probably smell pretty delicious. That's when all these spices kind of start infusing into the onions, the garlic, all that stuff. While your sauce is cooking, check your rice. Once that is done, we wanna turn it off, let it sit for 10 minutes, and then we're going to release it after 10 minutes. I'm gonna transfer our rice onto a freeze dryer tray. So our 2 cups of uncooked made about 4 to 5 cups of cooked rice. These are going onto a small freeze dryer tray, and I'm just gonna put them in the 8 portion setting. That way that will be about half a cup. 1 portion of these to 1 portion of our sauce, and that'll give us 1 serving size. While we're waiting for our sauce, we're gonna char this chicken. So you can do this, if you don't have a big enough pan, you can do this in half-seas. You wanna use minimal oil if possible, but we're really trying to blacken this chicken, not necessarily cook it, but we want it to be blackened on the outside, or charred. So at the 15-minute mark, you wanna take this off of heat. You can actually take a stick blender and blend this completely smooth if you want to. You're gonna add 3/4 of a cup of cream to this. And then if you want to, you can also add a couple of teaspoons of sugar. We're gonna mix this all together and we're gonna let this sit for a few more minutes while our chicken is cooking, and then we'll add our chicken to it. Once your chicken is charred to the way you want it, we're gonna add this to the sauce. So we're gonna cook this all together until this chicken is fully cooked. So we are freeze drying this, so the texture and the consistency of this is not as important, but as long as the chicken is cooked, you're ready to go onto a freeze dryer tray. You can allow this sauce to cool first if you want to. I'm just going right onto my freeze dryer trays. This is gonna go into the freezer for a pre-freeze with my rice. So there's where we landed, 2 small freeze dryer trays, 8 portion setting on the dividers on each of those. I do still have quite a bit of sauce left, so I could probably fill another small tray with this amount of sauce. We'll weigh both the rice and the sauce before we put this in the freeze dryer. That way we know how much water to put back in. But I'm gonna aim for one of these is a serving size along with 1 rice. This is definitely a spicy recipe. So if you are spice sensitive, you may want to tone down certain spices in this recipe. Our white rice was 1528 grams, brown rice 1562 grams. First tray of tikka 1538, second tray is 1626. So now with that information, we can put together a recipe for rehydration. That can be found at freezedryingcookbook.com. There are over 300 other recipes along with this tikka masala recipe in that freeze drying cookbook. We do have a volume 1 and volume 2 of a hard copy version of the cookbook. Those do lag behind in recipes from the online version just because it does take us a while to build up enough recipes to make the next volume. Take a minute to subscribe to Live Life Simple if you have not already. We do primarily freeze drying on this channel. And you can also click the bell to get notifications right by that subscribe button. That will send you a notification every time we put out a new freeze drying video. And if you like the content we're putting out there, let us know by giving us a thumbs up. We're using Harvest Right freeze dryers today. We've been using Harvest Right freeze dryers for about 6 years now. If you are interested in specs or pricing or any information for the Harvest Right, you can find a link down in the description of this video. That is our affiliate link. That way, if you purchase a freeze dryer, it sends us a small commission that we use to produce more of this freeze drying content. We use it to further the freeze drying community, which can be found on Facebook and MeWe at Retired at 40's freeze drying groups. The links for those groups can also be found down in the description of this video. Any of the accessories you see in this video or other freeze drying videos, especially the green colored ones, can be found at freezedryingsupplies.com. Those are all products that we developed for freeze drying to streamline the entire process. So whether you're seeing a green food funnel or green tray stackers or the green tray dividers, those can all be found at freezedryingsupplies.com. Now let's check on our freeze-dried tikka masala. Well, after 35 hours, we have some delicious freeze-dried tikka masala. This first tray weighs 768 grams. Second tray weighs 772. Brown rice tray, 946. And this white rice tray, 780. So the way that you package this will depend on your needs and what you want to get out of this. I like to package these in about 2 serving, like 1 or 2 servings per bag. That's just the way that we use them. So that means I'm gonna take 2 tikka masala squares, add them to 2 rice squares, put them in a bag, and then I will get a rehydration formula for us. I did some calculations, and it looks like, depending on which kind of rice you're using, brown or white, it's gonna take about 1/4 to 1/2 cup of hot water to rehydrate one of those portions in the dividers. For the tikka, it's gonna take just under 1/2 cup per square of the divider. I'm doing 2 of each in each of these, so I'm going to need at least a cup and a half up to 2 cups of hot water. As with all of these recipes, there can be quite a few different variations of things that will just determine whether you need more on the lower end or the higher end of that spectrum. I'm gonna start off with just over a cup and a half to rehydrate this and see where this gets us. Again, this is 2 rice squares and 2 tikka squares, cup and a half. I'm gonna let this sit covered for about 3 minutes. I'm gonna see where that gets us, and to me right now, it looks like it's gonna be good. This has been sitting for about 3 to 4 minutes. Sometimes brown rice takes a little bit longer to rehydrate. By the looks of this, it looks like it's totally fine. So let's take a taste test. Well, I know this has a lot of ingredients and it does take a little bit longer than most of the recipes that I do on these videos, but man, is this worth it. If you like Indian food and you like just a little bit of spiciness, something that's very bold, this is your meal right here. This is gonna be an awesome road trip meal. In fact, I'll probably take it with me on an upcoming vacation that we're taking. This is gonna make just a simple meal to rehydrate and good in lots of scenarios. If you have a chance, take some time and make this tikka masala. I don't think you'll regret it. In the meantime, remember to live life simple. Catch you next week.